All right, super pro setup here. I just washed my hair and I can't do a thing with it. All right, look, I gotta address something here. Right, I get these notes every once in a while. It's always from a woman. Love you, ladies. Thanks for being here. I suppose. Uh, in case you guys haven't picked up on it, it's not like I'm your typical YouTube person who has come here to get a bunch of accolades and you know have a million subscribers. That is, it'd be nice if that happened, I suppose. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I am not here to please everyone. And I have to say, if you haven't picked up on it already, I did let the cat out of the bag not long ago in another video. I've been wanting to do more comedy for a long time now, and I'm working on that. So if you find me offensive now, I'm, pretty middle of the road guy here, and a lot of things in life, but a lot of what I'm doing, I'm saying for effect sometimes, or some of the verbiage I'm using, some of the words I'm using, where I'm a little bit more crass, or some of the subject matter, the topics, which we can get into here in a second, is sure, I believe that. I think that way, but I'm framing it in a way that I think sounds absurd and should make you laugh. I'm trying to paint a picture in your mind using certain words and putting certain things together. Like when I say the best thing you could do for your kids is disappoint them on a regular basis, or, crack them in the head every once in a while. Because it sounds absurd, it sounds crazy, and you should laugh at that. If you're not laughing at that, you are taking yourself way too seriously, man. This is probably not the place for you, because if you are here and you're listening to me say that on a regular basis, you're just going to get your panties into a bunch and not be happy and complain all the time, which is probably what you're doing anyhow with everybody else. And that's why you're home alone with 20 cats. I said to my friend's daughter one time, years ago, she's happily married now with children. And on her wedding day, I danced with her. And I said, look, you've avoided living alone in a house full of cats. Because a few years earlier, when she was much younger, we were hanging out and she was being real bitchy in the conversation. And I said, that attitude is going to result in you living alone in a house full of cats. You don't want that to happen. With that, let me bring up this comment here. This woman, I'm sure she's a nice person. At least she probably thinks she is. She sent me this note. She'll know who it is if she reads it. And I'm not, by the way, I don't disagree with you, but I'm going to explain myself. I am not in the habit of explaining myself. I don't like being put in that position. If you can't use your brain to understand where I'm coming from, and understand that you're probably taking the whole world too seriously, that's your problem, not mine. But with that, it's a little paragraph here. You with me? I would like you to explore other nonviolent ways to teach people how to be respectful and how to treat others humanely. Your past videos, when you have stated that women and others flap their lips too much because they have never been smacked or cracked or whatever, has been a bummer for me. Why do women or some others have a strong she should have re-edited this. She did edit it. I can see in the parentheses up there. But it says here, why do women or some others have a strong verbal skills, shouldn't have had the S there, when there's a conflict? Did they develop strong verbal skills? Cuz, C-U-Z, they are physically weaker, and that's their only way of having a voice or power? If they can be beat into submission or silenced, is that acceptable? Is that the law of the land? Is that your belief? This response is going to be a good one. You can see it coming already, right? I think humans are more intelligent than animals. There you go thinking. So if we are ever going to give up or ever going to give women full and equal rights in every state in the USA, which we still do not have for our women today, then I guess that's an apostrophe, then we are going to have conflict and power imbalance. I don't know what fantasy land this lady lives in. My channel is clearly not for you. If you're like a hardcore modern feminist, I would say, which is really just like Marxism dressed up in something else. Because it's, if you know, feminists I know are like hardworking women that like do farm stuff, grow their own food, and they're out there doing all the same stuff a lot of men do. So I don't know what the heck she's talking about. But yeah, okay. There's a famous quote: "God created man, Sam Colt made them all equal." I don't know. She's got to be living in some place where she's in a bubble and she's protected and safe, and good for her. And you can do that. This is a thing I have with friends back home. I grew up all over Jersey, mostly North Jersey, and every summer I went to the Jersey Shore. And then I eventually lived there all through high school. I was living alone through high school and all that. I got out, I went to the Marines, lived all over the place. You guys know I live in the city now. I've had a lot of wild adventures. I've literally had to fight with my bare hands for my life before. Yeah. Now, where I come from, it's a very safe place because the police are a little overzealous. And I mean, people don't really lock their doors or anything. Even today, they probably do more now. But the point I want to make is if you live in a place where you're not experiencing a lot of that, or you're able to be affluent enough, which doesn't mean you're rich, but where you can live in a nicer neighborhood, or even if you live in a city like this one, if you live in a nicer neighborhood where the police patrol it more and you have security and all those things, and cameras, and the bad guys know that they're avoiding it for the most part, you can have this opinion. So it's just so crazy to me. I went through a phase reading about. I love history, and I went through this phase where I've read all different. I've read a lot of history, and one of the things I'm fascinated with is the mindset of the people in the 19th century, early 19th, mid 19th century, even before the Civil War, who went westward. Because our western border basically stopped at the Mississippi. And everything west of there was just, I mean, and that's probably more like mid to late 19th century, 1800s there, especially from the Civil War on. But my point I want to make is that it was no man's land and very dangerous. And there were people raping people, murdering people, taking what they wanted. That's just how it was. And men of grit, balls of steel, on their own dime, hoping to get reimbursed for ammo and supplies and all that, went out into the wild and hunted down what we would call today evil men: rapists, murderers, thugs, thieves, and all that. Took them down to make the rest of the country a safer place so that people could move there. That's how it works. The tough-minded people who think the way I do and see the world as it is, uh, make the place safe enough so that these people can have their academic opinions, which I should get a dictionary at. I wish I had one close enough to me because, academic, if you read the definition of it, like the second big definition there is usually something along the lines of, not practical, not realistic, theoretical. There used to be, I love watching old movies. And even as a kid, when I was a kid, I mean, I can't remember much of the late 60s. I was born in 66, but all through the 70s and all that, there was a very common phrase where, it's academic. He's an academic. She's an academic. It's all academic. And that was a throwaway line, and it meant what you're saying doesn't mean anything in the real world. That what she wrote here, yeah, you should develop verbal skills and all that. But what are you going to do when you're confronted by an animal? Because, newsflash, we are animals. You might think that you've sophisticated yourself out of it, but you are reacting emotionally to the point where that's what you wrote. Now, if you had a different mindset and you were on the street and you're going to react emotionally and strike out at somebody, it might actually be a more physical thing. So, well, I can tell you there are situations where the last thing you want to do is try to have a verbal back and forth with a crazy person or a violent person or an insane person who can be violent. I've been watching a lot of these body cam videos lately, the police body cams. I mean, everybody who gets arrested and knocked around and pushed to the ground, has their head crammed into the ground, has asked for it. They've asked for it because they didn't shut their mouth and comply. That's what you do. You shut your mouth and you comply, and they'll handcuff you. And then they're going to talk to you. And if they check everything out, everything's okay, they're going to unhandcuff you and they're going to let you go. But they have to do that in their line of work for their own safety. And you need to understand that. It's crazy. Now, pretty much everybody who does get arrested and beat up and everything else, they're also inebriated. And you cannot negotiate or get somebody to understand you who's out of their mind on alcohol or drugs or whatever. Even if it's weed. Because the weed detaches you from this sense of reality at the moment. You're in this weird world where it's your own fabrication there, and you're not truly seeing things around you as they are. And then when you're sober and in jail for 3 days, you realize, oh shit, maybe I fucked up. So, I mean, I like where she's coming from. People like this tend to help to make the world a better place, for sure. All I'm saying is, and I stand by this, is that when you're young, I don't think it should be a regular thing. I don't think you should be beaten on a regular basis or anything. But I think you should be exposed to those things so you know what it's like, so that you know as an adult when you're dealing with crazy and other situations how to deal with it. And it's going to make you a nicer person, because if you've ever been punched in the head before, you don't really want that to happen again unless you're a little psycho and then you get into the MMA, right? Be a professional fighter. Crazy, man. Crazy. But you could do that. Some people like doing that. Now, this person would judge that. These people, they hate all combat sports and all that because they don't think we're animals anymore. But we are. We have natural animal instinct. Lust is an animal instinct. I mean, there's these things. It's not just a violent thing. And violence for the sake of violence, there's a whole, you can go down the rabbit hole on this and have this whole long discussion about it. But I just wanted to respond to this and let you guys understand that I'm always myself. I'm not faking anything. I'm not saying things that I don't believe or anything, but I am sometimes peppering a little extra nuance or using certain words on purpose because I know I'm hoping you get a chuckle at it, you know. And I'm hoping with YouTube that I'm preserving a mindset, a way of thinking, so that people later can look at it. I want younger people to listen to what I'm saying at some point in their lives, you know, down the road, because at some point you're not going to be able to talk the way I'm talking, speak the way I'm speaking to the camera, because they're just shutting everything down now, man. It's like diet and everything else. I do a video because I keep getting asked, and I was just talking to my buddy about it. It's like, dude, you look great. What's going on with your skin? Blah, blah, blah. And, staying fit, keeping some muscle, all the things that I do. I'm going to do a little video for that on you guys and tell you like some of the stuff I eat and how I eat every day and all that. I'm trying to keep it together. I'm constantly fighting getting bigger because I'm only 5'9", and I've got like a 48-inch chest, and so if I gain a little bit of weight, I tend to look fat right off the bat, and I hate that. I especially hate it on camera when I'm using a wide angle lens. I'm vain, but I'm not vain enough to be gay. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys. It's a joke I used to make all the time out here. The gay guys are really vain, man. They're funny about it. But yeah, I don't have a problem with her. I mean, I hope that she'll stick around, but I'm just addressing you directly, kind of, without using your name here, because I don't want to let you out. But I'm going to love your comment, so it's going to appear. I think it's probably there. And I hope this helps you to understand. I think that what it is, again, I didn't start the channel to be open to everybody. I just did it because I felt like I had something to say. And then it kind of morphed into other things. It actually started with me doing some survival stuff and whatnot, and some motorcycle trips. And I always had something to say, and I wanted to say these things, and I did, and they weren't getting a lot of views. And then the van content came along, and the bicycle content came along, and the numbers started growing little by little. Then a couple stories hit big. And the one I did on talking about Richard Marcinko has like over 105,000 views, and that's a big deal for me, being a dude. And then hooking up with Sarah and her doing those videos on me, and that brought a lot of you here. And now I think it's 13% of my viewership or something is women now. Although I've been watching it lately, and like I'll be at a certain number of subscribers, but then I'll lose 3 or 4, but then it goes up again. So I'm probably some of you who are hypersensitive have watched some of my older videos, and I said something that you really don't like, and you're like, "Wah, I'm not gonna watch him anymore." That's okay. I do the same thing. But ladies, for those of you who are like this, that you believe the world can just be this peaceful utopia, um, and I'm maybe, I don't know what it is, maybe like some of the things you see me do, or you like the way I look or something or whatever, so you have this idea in your mind like, oh, if only, I just wish he wasn't like that. Sorry to break it to you, that's who I am. I'm not going to pretend to be anybody else. That shit never works, especially like when you're trying to develop a relationship with somebody. You know, a lot of the times people are, most of the time, most people are not being truly who they are, especially in a dating scenario. You're putting on your best act. Me, I'm always me. I'm always who I am, period. Never fake it. Don't lie about anything. Don't have to remember any lies. Just be who I am. And I am not right about everything. And I change my opinion on things based on information that comes into me. And when I meet certain people that maybe I had a stereotypical view of before I met them, once I get to know them, that could adjust my opinion of them or that group of people. I'm open to that. It's not so rigid what you see here. Your comments tell me you're the ones that are more rigid. You need to have things like this. And if you're not going to have it the way you want it, you're going to be so unhappy. And you're going to make everybody else around you miserable because you think things have to be the way you see them. I'm going to tell you, I learned something. I don't know what's going on in my hair. This thing, when I was young and I was working in a nightclub business, I was having a very good time. You know what I'm saying? And there were times where I would meet women much older than me. I started working in the big nightclubs when I was 21 years old. And from time to time, I would end up with going on with some lady who was like in her 40s or 50s, and it was always the same thing with them. Where I would listen to them, and they would always say basically the same thing. When they were younger, they had all these rules and all these hoops they tried to make men in their life jump through and everything else, and they ended up making their lives miserable and way more difficult than it needed to be. And now here they were in their 40s and 50s, and they're like, wow, you know, I've got so many years left of still being attractive and being fit and everything else. I'm going to have some fun once in a while. And when I'm having fun, I'm going to be honest about what my needs and wants and desires are and tap you on the head and go, hey, you know, a little bit to the left or, you know, a bit more here. You know what I'm saying? So they were great versus younger women who don't know anything yet, but they think they do. And they think that they have to think this way. And they've been programmed with a bunch of nonsense in their mind, usually from college Marxist university, which they all have become now. It's ridiculous, the stuff that they're plugging into the brain. I feel terrible for parents that are paying all this money for your kids to go to school and get brainwashed with a bunch of bullshit. You know, the kids come home, you have no idea who that person is anymore. You know, and they don't know who they are all of a sudden. Now they're like questioning who, if they're a man or a woman or whatever. It's just it's fucking insane, man. What are we doing? We're purposefully making people dumber and making the world soft. Look, this I've said it before. I didn't invent this. It's like an 80-year cycle. Soft people create soft times. Soft times. What is it? Give me a second here. Tough people bring about good times. Good times create soft people. Soft people bring about hard times. You understand that? So it's that's just how it is, and this cycle keeps repeating itself. That every 80 years or so, it's like we forget. Those who do not remember their history are doomed to repeat it over and over and over again. And this failed system thinking of the collective, the conglomerate, you know, it takes a village, all this other nonsense, is a problem, in my opinion. I'm watching it happen. So uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm losing it here. This video is probably getting way too long, and it's probably not nearly as entertaining, as funny as you were hoping for. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I can't make everybody happy. Oh. Not trying to make everybody happy. That's a surefire way to come off as a faker, and that's something you're never going to see here. Anyhow, I don't mind the criticism, to be honest with you, because it gave me something to talk about. But it's just funny to me. And I'm sure she's a nice lady. You know, it's funny. I have just thought of another thing, but I want to say this, but I don't want to. Well, fuck it. I don't care. Look, women like this, they want a man that's like effeminate. They might not want that, but that's what they end up with. Or, you know, guys that lean pretty far left, that play along with this game. I used to have this kind of joke I used to say that liberal men are just smart enough to, uh, you know, go along so they can get laid, right? That's their thing. Uh, the more, and I don't really consider myself an alpha necessarily. I suppose I am in certain groups, but I don't have those tendencies to be the center of attention or take charge and be loudmouth and all that. There's a Sigma male thing you can read up on. I think I fit more into that category if you want to get technical about it. But the point is that uh, some women are okay with those softer dudes, and that's fine. I think it's terrible when they have kids and raise them to be like that because that's just perpetuating the softness, and that's how freaking countries get taken over. Because those soft people are always going to need guys like me to protect them because they're not going to protect themselves. That's just how it is, man. Like these people complain about the police and you know, machismo and sexism and all these things, and they oftentimes are using those words incorrectly to describe something somebody did one time. It's not who they are all the time, but one bad example of them doing something. If it's not for tough people, what are you gonna do, man? And I gotta tell you, a lot of women, even though they say it, they want these dudes that are, you know, more academic minded and this sort of thing. They are cheating on those dudes with guys like me. Ask me how I know. I'm just saying. That's how it works, man. So it's when I was coming up, dudes wanted to have muscle on them. They wanted to be men. They wanted to do man stuff. That's how it was. And women were attracted to that. But now somehow women are attracted to skinny jean wearing, nail painting, dyeing your hair. I mean, this stuff that I don't even understand how women are attracted to it. But okay, those women can have that. I'm not ever pretending to be that. I'm never going there. It's freaking ridiculous to me. It's like the feminization of men, this androgynous thing that's going on. It's bizarre. Same thing with the forcing the diet, with trying to get people off of animal products and everything else. It makes no friggin' sense to me. So, look, if I've ruffled your feathers here and you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to listen to it. You can go away. Go. Matter of fact, unclick the thing now and go away. Or stick around and keep giving me shit, because that might be kind of funny. I don't know. I'm okay with it either way. I've said it before, I'm not for everybody. But I wonder, it'd be fun to have well, probably a latte, soy latte with this person, because that's probably what she's drinking, and have a conversation about this and be able to use real world practical history and examples of why what she's saying, it doesn't, you know, it's nice to think that you can live that way in a peaceful utopian world, but that just doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Never's going to exist. The idea, even wasting your time with trying to create that, is a waste of time, because that's what they've been doing. And if you look what's happening in you know, the blue cities, well, I live in one, it's only gotten worse. There's more homelessness, there's more crime, there's more dirt on the street. It's worse now than it was when I got here in the 90s, and the 90s was pretty bad. So it's failed. Look at San Francisco. There's poop on the streets, man. People are fleeing California. Businesses are fleeing California. Where are they going? They're going to Florida, man, Texas. So it's this mindset is something that is proving over and over again to kind of be a failure of conception. It's all academic, man. It's all academic. Don't let the academics fool you, because they tend to lack common sense. Anyhow, have a good day. Thanks for being here. This might get me canceled or something. I don't know, but I don't care either. Be good to one another. Come back again.